Welcome everyone, I'm Laura Shu. Welcome to my Lightroom Spring Cleaning webinar. Now I know that there are a lot of things you could be doing with your Saturday, so I really appreciate you joining us here today. From the poll, I can see that we have people from all over the world. And I particularly want to thank those of you that have gotten up at 4 or 5 in the morning or in the middle of the night in Australia and other countries to join us here today. In this webinar, I'll show you how to clean up your keywords and collections, how to rearrange your files and folders, resolve question marks and missing files, delete catalog backups and merge catalogs, and find and eliminate duplicate photos. Now, as we're cleaning up, I have to say that I'm not going to have much time to talk about what I'm talking about. Now, what I mean by that is that as we're cleaning up collections, for example, I won't have time to give you an extensive lesson in what collections are and how to create them. For that comprehensive training, I'd suggest that you turn to my Lightroom Fundamentals and Beyond video series. Now, as many of you know from my past webinars, this will not be a 90-minute sales pitch, but I will spend 5 minutes towards the end of this session talking about both my Lightroom Fundamentals and Beyond video series, as well as my Producing Great Output video series, because I truly do believe that most of you can get a lot out of these series. Now I'll go ahead and turn off the webcam, and we'll get started with our cleanup. We're going to start with a straightforward topic, and that's cleaning up keywords. So when you keyword photos, keywords are terms that you can search for your photos based on, and you add those to photos using the keywording panel. All of the keywords that you add to photos are shown in the keyword list panel. And you can imagine over time that you can end up with a very long list here that's difficult to use. It's unwieldy. So we're going to do some cleanup here. Now, the first thing I notice is that I have many keywords that have no photos associated with them. These numbers here are counts of how many photos have this keyword. So no photos have the keyword literature. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to right-click on literature. With a Mac mouse that only has one button or a touchpad that doesn't have a right-click, you would do Control-click. But generally, right-click on the keyword and choose delete. Now I can go through these one at a time and get rid of all the ones with 0, but I can also get rid of them all at once. I'll go up to metadata and then purge unused keywords. So now they're all gone. Next, there are some keywords here that they have photos associated with them, but those keywords just aren't working for me anymore. For example, night. I don't care about whether a photo was taken at night. I've changed my mind on the value of this keyword. So I'm going to delete this keyword. I'll right-click and choose delete. Now this time I get a warning because there are some photos that have this keyword. But rest assured, I'm not deleting the photos. I'm just removing the keyword from all of the photos. So it's safe to hit delete here. All right, so that's how you would go through and get rid of keywords you don't want. The next thing I'm going to cover are misspellings. Here's Bahamas, but it's spelled wrong. I'm going to right-click, and you're going to hear me say right-click a lot in this session because generally, to do something in Lightroom, you're going to right-click. Of course, you have to know where to right-click. But I right-clicked on the keyword, and to rename it, I'll choose Edit Keyword Tag. And then I'll simply change the spelling here and click Save. And it's been renamed here. Next, I'll cover duplicates. Here I've got flower, and then I have flowers. Well, I really want to combine those into one. I think I'll combine them into flower. Now the steps, it's important to do these steps in the right order. I'm going to get rid of flowers. So I'm going to go to Photos that have the flowers keyword. And an easy way to do that, as I hover over flowers, I see this right arrow over here. I'll click on it. It opens up a filter that shows me just photos with the flowers keyword. Now I'm going to select all of these photos. I'll do Command A on the Mac, Control A on the PC, so that's for all, Command A for all. Or you can go up to Edit, Select All. Now that they're selected, I'm going to give these keywords, these photos rather, the flower keyword. I did that by clicking on this box. That put a check mark next to flower. Once I've done that, and that's important to do first, give it the proper keyword, the correct keyword. Then I will uncheck flowers. I'll remove the flowers keyword from these photos. So I'm going to remove flowers by clicking on the check mark to take it off. The photos disappeared because they no longer have the flowers keyword. So they don't match this criteria, this filter criteria. But that's okay. Now I'll click on None to get out of the filter. And over here, all 12 now have flower and none have flowers. So I can right-click and delete flowers. Add the keyword to the photos that you want and then delete the keyword that you don't want. The last thing I want to show you related to keywords are how to organize them into hierarchies. You'll see that there are two advantages of doing so. The first one is that you can collapse these hierarchies so that they're not taking up space in your keyword list when you don't really need to work with them. I have a hierarchy here for my practice photos from my Fundamentals and Beyond series. I've keyworded all of those. If I click on this sideways triangle to expand the hierarchy, you'll see all of the individual keywords. This is just what video each photo appears in. So these keywords are nested within this Shoe Fab 6 practice files keyword. When I'm not using them, I just collapse it. They don't take up much space here. So let's look at how to create a keyword. I have lots of location keywords here. So let's nest them within a location keyword. To create location, because it doesn't already appear in this list, I don't think. Nope. We'll click on the plus. We're adding a keyword, and I'll call this location. I'll click create. It now appears down here. Now I think I'm going to do location, and within that I'm going to do North America. Actually, I think I'm trying to see what I already have down there. We'll do Europe. So I'll create Europe. Click create. But I want Europe to be within location. So I'll find Europe, and I'll click and drag it and drop it on location. Now if I click to open location, you'll see that Europe is nested within there. So now I can take Turkey, for example, and drag it and drop it on Europe. So it's nested within that. I'll select location, and I'm going to add North America here. Click the plus, North America. Now I could just click create and then drag it into location, but because I had location selected, I can choose here to put it inside location. It just saves me from having to drag it in. If I forgot to do that, I can always do it by dragging. Now let's create United States. Put inside location, that's not exactly where I want it, but it will be close, so I'll go ahead and put it there for now. And then I'll correct it by dragging it, drop it on North America. And then I saw New York, so I'll click and drag, drop it on, well, I got to open that first. Open North America, click and drag New York, drop it on United States. Now, of course, I would continue doing that for all of the other location keywords that I have. That would be a geography test for me that I'm afraid of failing, so I'm not going to, well, here's one. I know that Istanbul is within Turkey. All right, that's enough. The advantage that I've mentioned is that when you're not using these keywords, you can collapse them and your keyword list will be much more organized or much more easier to work with. There's another advantage as well, and that's to make keywording itself more efficient. Let's say that I have a photo that is from New York. I'll select that photo and I'll give it the New York keyword. I could type it up in the keywording panel, but I can also just put a check mark here next to New York. The cool thing is once I've assigned New York, Lightroom automatically assigns United States, North America, and location to this photo. So I could do a search using the filter bar for all of my North America photos, and Lightroom would pull up this photo without me having to have had to assign North America directly. Just by assigning New York, it gets these keywords higher up in the hierarchy. All right, so that's organizing your keywords into hierarchies. Let's go ahead and move to collections. So collections are basically virtual groupings of your photos. You could think of it as, for example, an iTunes playlist. I have a collection here of photos that I pulled together to make a slideshow of my Savannah photos. Now I have several hundred Savannah photos, so I pulled together 43 to make a slideshow of. But I did that not by rearranging photos in folders, but essentially just making a list of the ones that I want to use. So photos don't reside in collections. They still reside in folders. Now we have the same issues here where if you've been using Lightroom for a long time, you can end up with a ton of collections and you end up doing a lot of scrolling. It's hard to find collections, etc. So let's look at what we can do to clean up what could be a long and extensive list. By the way, this is just a practice catalog. I only have 400 photos in here, but of course in my main catalog I've got tens of thousands of photos. The first thing I want to show you here before I get to hierarchies and all that is just how to delete and how to rename collections. This Savannah 2 collection, I don't need it anymore. I don't even know why I created it. So let's delete it. I'll right click and choose delete. Now anytime you see ... you know that it's not going to do this action right away. It's going to bring up another dialog. And that's a warning, but it's not as dire as it may sound. We're going to delete the collection, but again, we won't be deleting this photo from Lightroom or from our hard drive. That still resides up in folders. We're just deleting this list, this collection. So I'm going to go ahead and click delete here, and it's gone. All right, let's move on here to renaming. Let's say I wanted to rename this portfolio collection. Right click, click rename, and type in the new name. Finally, let's get to organizing collections into collection sets. You can see that I already have a couple collection sets here. Smart Collections is a set that comes with Lightroom. You have individual collections, but they're in this box called Smart Collections. So a collection set is just a box that holds your collections. And the advantage of that is that when you're not working with these collections, you can click on the downward triangle here to collapse it. Actually, before I get to creating collection sets, I want to talk about this filter here. Now you only have this filter if you have Lightroom 6 or Lightroom CC, but I was glad to see it added to Lightroom 6. If I want to find my Savannah collections, and of course pretend I have dozens and dozens of collections, I can just type Savannah here, or really as I just type S and then A, that's enough for it to narrow down what I'm looking for here. The other collections haven't disappeared, they're just being filtered out while I have this filter active. So now I can work with my Savannah favorites, for example. When I'm done with the filter, I would just click on this X to clear it, and I'm back to seeing all my collections. Now let's get to collection sets. I'd like to put all of my Savannah collections into a Savannah collection set. To create a collection set, I'll click on the plus and choose Create Collection Set. Call this Savannah. Click on Create. Here it is right here at the top. Now I can drag my collections into the Savannah collection set. Before I do that though, I'll show you that you can drag multiple collections at once. Click on the first and then shift click on the last. Or if they're not next to each other, you would click on the first and then hold the Command key down on Mac, Control key on PC to select all of the ones that you want. I'll go back to actually selecting my Savannah ones. And then I'll drag and drop right on top of Savannah. So now they're nested within the Savannah collection set, and I can click on that downward triangle to collapse when I am not working with those. Now you can nest collection sets within collection sets. Let me first put these Victoria ones into a Victoria collection set. I'll click on the plus, Create Collection Set, Victoria. Now I don't want it in the Savannah collection set. It's just trying to guess where I want it. That's why this happened. So I'll uncheck that. Click Create. I've got my Victoria collection set. Now I'm going to select my Victoria collections. Click, Shift, click, drag, drop on Victoria. And I can collapse that Victoria collection set. Now I'm going to create a workshops. These were workshops I attended. So I'm going to create a workshops collection set, and then I'm going to put these Victoria collection sets within that. So we're going to nest collection sets within collection sets. So I'll click on the plus, Create Collection Sets, Workshops. I don't want it in Victoria. Click Create. And now I can drag Victoria down onto Workshops and Savannah down onto Workshops. And they're nested within Workshops now. And I can expand them all or some of them whenever I need to. There we go. All right, so now they're all collapsed. I chose those topics first because those are kind of the most straightforward ones. The other ones are straightforward as well. They're just more steps involved and more things that I want to cover. I'm going to collapse collections here. We don't need that. And I really don't need this whole right-hand strip of panels, so I'll click on the sideways triangle to expand that. And we're going to start working with files and folders. I would imagine that a lot of you have a mess in your folders panel. That is perfectly normal. Or you might not have a mess, but it may not be very usable because you may just have a list of date folders, and because you're probably like me and you have no idea what you shot on a particular date, folders panel is really not very useful to help you get to your photos. So we're going to address that as well. I'm going to cover how to reveal where all these photos live on your hard drive. Then I'll get into how to move folders around, how to rename folders, how to create folders when you need them, how to delete individual photos, how to move photos. And then we're going to deal with an issue that many of you have. It's extremely common, and that is question marks. Let me see if I have any question marks here. I'm sure I do. Well, I won't waste your time right now, but if you have question marks on your folders or exclamation points on your photos, those files are missing. Lightroom has no clue where those are. So I'll explain why that happens and how to resolve that issue. Now, the first thing I recommend doing with your folders panel is giving Lightroom a kick. Basically telling it to do its job, which is to show you where your folders live on your hard drive. The first reason for doing that is because until you can see that, you can't use the folders panel to reorganize your folders. For example, if I hover over a folder, I can see that this one is within Photos Go Here within Pictures. This one is just within Pictures. So if I wanted to move it into Photos Go Here, how on earth would I do that? I can't see Photos Go Here. I can't see Photos Go Here. So I can't drag it. So before I get to that, I want to just really emphasize that you'll want to use the Folders panel to reorganize your files and folders. Anything you do using the Folders panel will reorganize them on your hard drive. It's not just a Lightroom thing. You're cleaning up your hard drive. Now, many of you know that you could go out to Mac Finder or Windows Explorer, which some of you know is my computer, and do that reorganization out there. However, if you do that, you are going to make Lightroom really mad, and your life is going to be a headache because you're going to have those question marks. You want to do all of that from within Lightroom, because if you go outside of Lightroom, Lightroom will not see you do that. So it will lose track of your photos. And I'll show you how that happens later. So let's first tell Lightroom to show us where these photos reside on our hard drive. You'll right-click on the highest level folders that you have, so not 217 here, but 2008, and choose Show Parent Folder. Now I can't see that 2008 folder because it's within this Photos Go Here folder that just got revealed. So now I can see that that lives within Photos Go Here. So where does this 2011 folder reside? I'll right-click, Show Parent Folder, open up Pictures here. Oh, so that lives straight in Pictures. Now I can see that Photos Go Here lives in Pictures as well, so that's all good. Where does Temp Stuff reside? Show Parent Folder. Well, that's in my Documents folder. So why do I have photos in my Documents folder? Well, the good news is now I can see that, so now I can clean that up. Now I could right-click on Pictures and show that parent folder. It's just going to show that it lives within Laura Shu, which lives within Users. I don't need that level of detail. If you have multiple users using Lightroom, then you might right-click on Pictures and show parent folder. But this is enough information for me. Now that I can see this, I can use this panel to reorganize my folders. In my Fundamentals and Beyond series, I discuss a lot how to organize your photos, external hard drives versus internal, putting them within a subfolder such as Photos Go Here within Pictures. I can't get into all of my philosophy behind this, but bottom line, I want to store all my photos within Photos Go Here within Pictures. That's just the choice that I've made. There are other reasonable choices as well. So I want 2011 to be in Photos Go Here. So I'll click and drag and drop it on top of Photos Go Here. I get this scary message that really should not be this scary. It says that if you move this folder, that move cannot be undone. That sounds scary. What that means is that you can't go up to Edit Undo to undo a move. However, if you accidentally move it to the wrong place, you can just drag it somewhere else, or you can just drag it back where it came from. So this doesn't have to be scary. Getting this warning is a nice escape valve. So if you already realize that you were dragging it to the wrong place, this can be a handy warning to have so that you could just cancel it. But again, you can always move it somewhere else. So now we see 2011 is within Photos Go Here. Just like with collections and keywords, keyword hierarchies, you can collapse these folders when you're not using them. So if I don't want to see Photos Go Here, I can click on that downward triangle to collapse, click to expand. Well, this is odd. I was going to say let's move 2015 from Pictures into Photos Go Here, but I already have a 2015 folder within Photos Go Here. I'm going to collapse this catalog panel so that this is towards the top. All right, so I already have a 2015 folder, so I can't drag this one down into Photos Go Here. Instead, I'll open up this one and I'll take the individual date folders and I'll move them down into the 2015 folder. That's where I want it to be. Now this is odd too. I've got 2015 within 2015. So we'll get to that. Okay, I'm going to select the first date folder, hold the Shift key down, select the last one, and I'll drag and drop on top of 2015. Say move. When a move is taking place, you'll have a status bar up at the top here This was just 3 photos, so it was real quick, but if you're moving a lot of photos, it could take a while. One word of caution: as a move is taking place, don't cancel it. Don't change your mind in the middle of a move. You know, there's an X next to the progress bar up here while it's happening where you could cancel it, but don't do that. If you do that in the middle of a move, you do risk losing files. So let the move happen, and if you change your mind after the move is done, then just move them back. Drag them wherever you want to put them. Now up here I have 2015 nested within 2015. So I would do the same thing to clean this up, but I did this on purpose as I was setting up examples for this, because some of you have these weird date folders nested within date folders, and you're wondering why that happens. So I'll get to that in just a minute. So here we've got, let's see, we've got 2016. I don't have a 2016 folder down here, so I can take this, drag it on top of photos, go here. Then I could take this folder here and do whatever I need to do with it. But actually, I don't even know why I have these copies of files up here. I'm actually going to delete these photos. I can't delete the folder. I could delete an empty folder, but I can't delete a folder that has photos in it. So my strategy is going to be to delete the individual photos and then delete the empty folder. I'll select the photos, so click on the first and then hold the Shift key down, click on the last, and then I'll hit the delete key on my keyboard. You have 2 choices here: remove from Lightroom but leave them on your hard drive, or remove from Lightroom and delete them from your hard drive, delete from disk. Generally, you're going to want to choose delete from disk. If you choose remove, they're going to be out there on your hard drive, but you're not even going to know they're there because you're not seeing them in Lightroom. Most of the time when we're trying to delete something, we really want them to be gone. So if you've been wondering why, been deleting a lot of photos, why your hard drive is still filling up, you're probably choosing remove. I really want these gone, so delete from disk. Now that the folder is empty, I can right click on the folder and choose remove. Well, let me back up a little bit. Lightroom doesn't know about everything on your hard drive, right? It only knows about what you have imported into Lightroom, what you've told Lightroom about. Sometimes the folder may show that it's empty here in Lightroom, but it's not empty on your hard drive because you put files in that folder out using Mac Finder or Windows Explorer, and you did not import them. So when you remove a folder here, if it truly is empty, Lightroom will delete it from your hard drive. If it's not empty, Lightroom will leave it on your hard drive. Generally, it's going to be empty. You can easily check by right-clicking on the folder and choosing Show in Finder, or in Windows it would say Show in Explorer. That just pops open a Finder or Explorer window, which I've got a messy temp stuff folder here. But anyway, here's the reference photos folder. There's actually one photo out there that I have no idea why it's there. I did not import it into Lightroom. I'm going to go ahead and delete it. You might want to examine those more closely than I did, but I wanted to show you that Show in Finder, Show in Explorer trick. In this case, now I can go ahead and remove, and it's gone. Now, documents and temp stuff show that they're empty here. Not that my documents or temp stuff folders are empty, but there's nothing that I have in Lightroom in these folders. There's nothing that I want in Lightroom in these folders. So I'm going to go ahead, right click, and remove. So I'm glad this happened. I bet you it's happened to some of you. You remove a folder and all of a sudden the folders panel is completely empty. Did I just remove or delete all of my folders and photos? And look, they still show here. What on earth is going on? Well, this is a bug. I'm sure it's caused panic. It's caused panic for me because this has happened when I've been cleaning up clients' computers and I've thought that I've lost all of their photos. Okay, but the trick is simply to close Lightroom. Don't panic. Close Lightroom. Reopen it. I'm glad I have that bug on video that I'm recording that, because I can send that to Adobe as evidence of the bug. Okay, so now we see everything again. This folder, 2009-627, it's a different date format than the other ones. I've got just month, day, within year, and this one is year, month, day. I'll show you why that happens, but let's fix this. First, I don't have a 2009 folder to put this into. So I'm going to select Photos Go Here, which is where I want the 2009 folder to go into, and I'm going to create 2009. I'll right click and I'll choose Create Folder inside Photos Go Here. Call this 2009. Click Create. Here it is. It's grayed out because it's emptied. And then I'll drag this folder into it, open it up, and now I can right click on this date folder and rename it and remove the portion that I don't need. Click Save, and everything is consistent now. The next thing I want to do is make this panel more useful. Like I said, I don't remember what I did on 6/27/2009. So after every import, I right click on the folder, choose Rename, click after the date, and add a description. Just a simple description of the shoot. So this was Pendroy, Montana. Click Save. So I would do that for all of these date folders. Then the folders panel actually becomes a convenient way to get to shoots of photos that I want to work on. So I highly recommend that. All right, I'm going to get to why some of these weird date things have happened. That takes me into the import dialog. Before I get there, I want to show you how to move individual photos from one folder to another. I've covered how to move folders. Let's talk about how to move photos. What's this photo? All right, let's pretend that this photo was taken in Pendroy, Montana, that it really belongs in this folder here. I'm going to click and drag the photo, and I'm going to drop it on that folder. If I click on the gray border and I drag, nothing happens, nothing at all. It's important to drag from inside the photo thumbnail. Now you'll see that it actually moves. Let's go into this one, and let's move multiple photos. If the photos are next to each other, select the first, hold the Shift key down, select the last, and again drag from inside any of the photo thumbnails and drop them. I'm going to hit Escape, cancel that. If the photos are not next to each other, click on the first, hold the Command key down on Mac, Control key on PC, click on each individual photo while you have your finger down on the Control or Command key, and then you would drag. And I'll drop them into that folder, and I'll click on Move. All right. Now I'm going to show you why some of these weird date things happened. You saw that I had a 2015 folder within a 2015 folder. So how did that happen? In the import dialog, as you're importing new shoots of photos, you would have chosen a memory card over here on the left, and you would be copying them to your hard drive. The destination panel down here in the bottom right is where you tell Lightroom where on your hard drive you want those photos to go. Now by default, they just go into pictures. You may not even have realized that there was a destination panel. And by default, they're organized by date, probably with this date format. It's just a date folder within pictures. Let me see if I can find just some photos here. All right, these are meaningless photos, but now we have photos here. When I choose pictures, my date folder goes straight in pictures. That's fine if that's what you want. What I choose is a subfolder within pictures that I've named Photos Go Here. So you'll see in italics the date folders that Lightroom is going to create. So it's telling you before you even do the import that you're going to have a date folder within Photos Go Here. perfect, except I'll change the format. But what some people do is they think to themselves, well, this is a 2000. All right, so I'm going to go back into the import dialog. The point I'm trying to make is that when you're organizing by date, in other words, you're having Lightroom create date folders, you've got to be careful what you select for those date folders to go into. So let me go back to having some images here. If you're choosing to have a date folder within a year folder, you don't want to select a year here because that would put a year folder within a year folder. You want to select your master photos folder. So pictures, or in my case where I've chosen to put everything in Photos Go Here within pictures. Now I just see date folder within 2016 within Photos Go Here. Otherwise, that's how that problem happens. Now the other thing I showed you when I was cleaning up was that most of my folders were month day folders within year folder, but I had one that was just a date folder that had the year in the name of the date folder. That's because at some point, let me collapse this here, at some point I changed the date format. I told Lightroom to create date folders with a different format. So choose the format that you want and just be consistent. Leave this set the same all the time. Lightroom will remember this, so you don't have to actually change this each time. All right, that's of course covered in a lot of detail, this whole panel and different options for whether your photos go in date folders or in a different structure that's covered in depth in my Fundamentals and Beyond series. I'll cancel out of that. The next thing I want to cover is why you're getting question marks on your folders and exclamation points on your photos, and then when you go to the Develop module, you're seeing the file could not be found. Well, what's the deal? I can see the photo, right? So how could the file not be found? Well, as I discuss in my video series, Lightroom stores 3 JPEG copies of your photos. A little thumbnail, a screen size version, and then sometimes a full size version that you can zoom in on. It just stores those JPEGs behind the scenes. You never have to think about them. It's just for convenience. Well, even though it's saying the file could not be found, the reason we're still seeing the photo is because we're actually seeing those JPEGs stored behind the scenes, not the master RAW or JPEG file, not your original file. So that's why it's confusing. But we have to find these photos. It's not okay that these files cannot be found. You can't develop them, you can't export them, etc. This happens because, in my case, I moved this Victoria folder outside of Lightroom. I went out to Finder or Windows Explorer on the PC, and I moved the folder out there. Lightroom couldn't see that happen. So it just has no clue where this folder is. It's still looking for it within this folder structure, which I see I could clean up more, but I won't bother to do that. So let's actually see this happen for ourselves. This 3.5 folder, right now it's within 2008 within Photos Go Here. Let's go outside of Lightroom and make Lightroom angry. Let's piss Lightroom off. I'm going to jump out to Finder to this folder, and I'm just going to use that shortcut to get there. So I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to say Show in Finder. So now I'm outside of Lightroom. Lightroom can't see what I'm about to do. But I forget, I get enthusiastic about reorganizing my folders. I come out here to Finder, Explorer, and I clean them all up. So I'm going to take this 3.5 folder and I'm going to move it to my desktop. Now, this would also happen if you just came out here and you renamed a folder or a file, or you deleted it. Okay, now I'm going to minimize that, come back into Lightroom. Notice how I have the question mark now, because this folder is no longer in my Photos Go Here folder, but Lightroom didn't see me move it, and I've got exclamation points. So that's the consequence of ignoring my advice and going outside of Lightroom to do your reorganization rather than using the folders panel. It happens though, so we've got to resolve the issue, and we can resolve the issue. We just have to tell Lightroom where this folder now is, that it's on my desktop. Then Lightroom will be happy again. To do that, I'll right-click on the folder and choose Find Missing Folder. Now, contrary to what some people think, and we all would hope, Find Missing Folder is not an instruction to Lightroom to go find our folder. It's not going to do that for us. This is going to allow us to go find it and tell Lightroom. So when I choose Find Missing Folder, Lightroom's going to open up to somewhere on my computer, but it's not telling me that it thinks that that folder is here. You have to just ignore whatever's here and find it yourself. Of course, I remember it's on my desktop, but normally I'm not going to remember where I put the folder. Now, I find that using the search box in Finder here, if I search for 03/-05, sometimes it doesn't find what I'm looking for. I don't know if this happens on Windows or not, but this spotlight feature used from within the Find Missing Folder command doesn't always find it. And if I don't see it here, it's not really an indication yet that it doesn't exist. What I find is that sometimes I have to actually go outside of Lightroom to Finder, look for my folder, make a note of where I find it, and then come back to the Find Missing Folder dialog, navigate to it, in my case my desktop, I know it's on my desktop, and select it. In any case, right-click Find Missing Folder, and then in this dialog, navigate to where the folder is and choose. Now I see 305 here doesn't have a question mark on it. So Lightroom understands now where it is. Now we can't see that it's on my desktop simply because I haven't right-clicked Shown Parent Folder. Now I can see it's on my desktop. Lightroom's happy. Now that it's reconnected, if I want to, I can move it where it belongs. Now sometimes you won't have question marks on folders, but you'll still have exclamation points on individual files. And if you went to develop, it would say file cannot be found. That would be because you moved just the individual photo files, or you renamed them, or you deleted them outside of Lightroom. In that case, if there's no question mark on the folder, you'll want to click on the exclamation point and click on Locate. Again, Lightroom's not going to go locate it for me. I need to go figure out where it is, navigate to that, select that file. Can't remember which one I clicked on. And then I would click on Select. Let's actually do this. Let me see here. I've got to make these bigger. Let me choose file name here. I'll get to these grid options. Anyway, this is the name of the file. So I would click on the exclamation point, locate. I would try using the spotlight feature here to find that file. 60258.dng. So this is where that spotlight feature breaks down and it can't find this file. So I would go out to Finder, figure out where it is, and then come back here, navigate to it. So I'll cancel out of that. So that's the missing file issue. If you never go outside of Lightroom to move, rename, or delete files, then you'll never have to go through this process. Now sometimes you will have actually deleted the files, or you go trying to find it and it's nowhere. You conclude that you have deleted the file. In that case, what you'll want to do here in Lightroom is simply remove. You'll take it out of Lightroom's catalog. It doesn't exist anymore. If you deleted them and you didn't mean to delete them, you've lost your photos and you're wondering, is there anything you can do? You've checked your backup hard drives, they're just gone. You could recover the JPEGs that are stored behind the scenes here so that you at least have something. There is a plugin out there by Jeffrey Friedel. he has that can help you recover files that recover these JPEGs when your originals are truly gone. All right, so let me see where I am here. We've got to clean up catalogs and we've got to eliminate duplicates. It's been an hour. It's try to be done by in half an hour from now. Let's go ahead and clean up catalogs. We're going to eliminate catalog backups. Every time you back up your catalog, it creates duplicates of your catalog. And it's handy to have a few backups around, but if you back up a lot, and I recommend that you do, you don't need the dozens or hundreds of backups that you have out there. So we'll delete those, and then we'll look at deleting other catalogs, maybe old versions of your catalogs. And then finally, we'll look at how to merge catalogs together where you've got separate sets of photos. Before you go out and delete any catalogs, I think it's really important for you to understand and make a note of what catalog you're working in, because you don't want to accidentally go out and delete that one. The way to tell on a Mac is to go up to Lightroom. On a PC, you would go to Edit, and then down to Catalog Settings. On the General tab, it gives you the name of your catalog file. Mine is main Lightroom 6 catalog.lrcat, and it gives the location. So mine's in a Lightroom catalog folder within Pictures. Yours might just be in a Lightroom folder. It's probably named something different from this. The point is, make a note of this. Write it down if you're not going to remember as you go out to do this work. Now, sometimes people discover that they're working in a catalog that is in their backups folder. In that case, it's really important not to go wipe out all your backups because you're working with one of them. And I'll explain why that happens. Now that you understand where your catalog is, the next step is to get out to your backups folder. By default, your backups will be stored within your catalog folder, but you can tell exactly where they're being stored. When that backup prompt comes up when you close Lightroom, that tells you where your backups are being stored. So I want to force that backup prompt to come up when I close Lightroom this time. So under backup here, generally I back up once a day. I skip the backup if I haven't really done any work, but I have it prompt me once a day. But right now I'm going to choose when Lightroom next exits, just to force it to come up when I close Lightroom in a minute. After it does this, it will then go back to the setting that I had before. So when Lightroom next exits, close this, I'll quit Lightroom. Now I can see where my backups are going. So they're going in a backups folder within my Lightroom catalog folder within Pictures. This is where I store them. I store them in my main catalog folder, but I want to emphasize that I have a backup program. I use Time Machine, there are other ones as well, that backs up everything onto another external hard drive. Actually, I have two sets of backups that go to two different external hard drives, and then I back up everything to a cloud service as well. Anyway, backups within Lightroom Catalog within Pictures, that's what I needed to know. I'm going to come out to Finder or Windows Explorer, go into my Pictures folder, into my Lightroom Catalog folder, into my Backups folder. So here are all of my backups. They're date folders, so this is April 20th at 20:05. 20:05 is the time I made the backup. This was last night. I recommend not going into these date folders. With Lightroom 6 and CC, your backup catalogs are zipped up in a zip file. This makes it a little bit harder to accidentally work on one. If you're using an old version of Lightroom, within your date folder you have the catalog files themselves. I just double-clicked on it to show you. You have the LRCat file. If you found that your catalog that you're working with in Lightroom is in your backups folder, it's because you came into one of these date folders and you accidentally double-clicked on a catalog file there. So it launched Lightroom with that backup folder, and that's what you're working with. If that happens to you, you wrote down where your catalog is when we were in Lightroom. You'll come into that date folder and you'll drag that catalog out of the backups folder into your main Lightroom or Lightroom catalog folder. You might have to rename it if you've already got one in that folder of the same name. So you would just right click and rename the catalog, the LRCat file, to be main Lightroom catalog instead of Lightroom catalog, for example. Then you could drag that LRCat file out into your catalog folder, your Lightroom folder. If you have a previews file in here as well, in that situation, drag that, rename, and drag that one as well. There's a video on my blog about moving your Lightroom catalog. It's also in my Fundamentals and Beyond series. That would go through that process as well. All right, now I came in here because I want to delete the old backups. Backups are handy if your catalog has become corrupted. You open Lightroom and it says that it can't open your catalog. That's what these backups are for. So you would go to your most recent backup and open that. If that won't open, you'll go to one before it. So I think it's handy to keep a handful of them around, but the rest of these date folders you can delete. So I clicked on the first, shift click on the last, and then I'll move them to the trash or to the recycle bin if you're on Windows. So that's how you would delete catalog backups. You'll find that if you have tens of thousands of photos in your catalog probably runs in the 500 megabytes to 1 gig. So if you delete a whole bunch of these, you could free up a lot of hard drive space on your computer. Let's take a look now at deleting other catalogs. In my catalog folder, I have a Lightroom 6 catalog and a Lightroom 5 catalog. I keep Lightroom 5 around as an instructor, just so that I can show somebody Lightroom 5 if I need to. But you, if you have Lightroom 6, will never need to go back to Lightroom 5. So you can delete the Lightroom 5 LRCat and the previews. Now, if you found that your catalog is named something like Lightroom Catalog-2, and you also have just Lightroom Catalog, that's because when you upgraded to your current version of Lightroom, let's just say you upgraded to Lightroom 6, your Lightroom 6 catalog became Lightroom Catalog-2. So the one without the -2 is your old catalog. If you're not sure what a catalog is, you can open Lightroom up and check. For example, you could do that with one of these, but I'm going to go to this other folder. I have this catalog, but I have no idea why I created it, and I want to know if I can delete it or if I need to merge it with my existing catalog. So I'm just going to double click on the LRCat file. It will launch Lightroom with that catalog. And if Lightroom had already been open, it would tell me that it needs to relaunch Lightroom. So now I can see what this catalog is. It looks like I can delete it. I'm actually going to use it for an example. But if you see that it has the same photos in it that the other one did, and maybe less photos and not as much editing, it probably came from an old version of Lightroom. In any case, once you understand what it is, you can go out and delete it or whatever you need to, but I want you to understand how to get back to your main catalog. You'll go up to File, Open Recent, and the one that you were just in before, which was your main catalog, is basically the second one on the list. So you would just select it and relaunch, and you'll be back to working with your main catalog. Okay, so that's understanding what catalogs are, deleting backups. Now, some of you have multiple catalogs for other reasons. For example, you may have created catalogs for every shoot and then realized that that's a very inefficient way to work, and you want to go to having all your photos in one catalog, which is what I recommend for most people. Everything would be in this one catalog that I have so that I can get to any photos I need to. I talk about this issue of should I have one versus multiple catalogs in my Fundamentals and Beyond series. There are a few situations where you might want to have multiple ones. For example, if you do photography for work and you do it for personal reasons, and you need to keep a brick wall between the two, that's when multiple catalogs make sense. But let's say you had multiple catalogs and you want to combine them now. You want to merge them. Let's take a look at how to do that. Here I have my second catalog. And what I want to do is bring the photos from this second catalog into my master catalog, into my main catalog. Okay, so let me go back out to Finder. So I'm talking about how to merge two catalogs together. And let me go to my catalogs here. I've determined that I want to merge this second catalog into my master catalog. You want to be in your main catalog. So if you were out exploring your other one, then you'll want to go to File, Open, Recent to get back to your main catalog that you want to bring the other one into. Next, you'll go to File, Import from another catalog. And you'll navigate to where that second catalog is. It's in my Pictures folder, in this second catalog folder, and you'll select the LRCat file, not the previews files. Click on Choose, and you'll get this dialog where Lightroom is showing you what's in that second catalog. Now I want to bring everything from that second catalog into my main one, but you could unselect particular folders of photos that you don't want to bring in. I say generally just bring them all in, and then you can always remove what you don't want later. Now in this second catalog there are 219 photos. 139 of them are not in my main one yet. So we'll just add them to the catalog without moving. 80 of them though are in both catalogs. So Lightroom wants to know which catalog has your more recent editing. Do you want to keep the editing on these photos from your master catalog, or update it to be the editing from the second catalog you're bringing in? So replacing the metadata and develop settings would bring in the editing from the second catalog. Replace nothing would leave the editing from the master catalog. If you choose replace metadata, you could also choose preserve the old settings as virtual copies. So you'll have two versions. You'll have a virtual copy and a master photo. One will have the editing from one catalog, one will have editing from the second catalog. So if you're not sure, this can be a way to go. I'll have 80 virtual copies that I'll need to clean up. If you're bringing in 50,000 photos though, and there are 50,000 in both catalogs, for example, that's a lot of virtual copies to clean up. So it's better to make a decision on which one you want the editing for. Next, you'll click on Import. And you'll see that those 219 photos will come into my master catalog here. So that's the process of merging catalogs. If you had more than two, you would go out to your third catalog and then import that one into your main one. Now those photos are actually on an external hard drive and it's not plugged in. That's why I have these question marks. But that's the process. All right. The last thing I'm going to cover is eliminating duplicates, detecting and eliminating duplicates. After that, I'll spend about 5 minutes before we conclude talking about my Lightroom video series, which together provide almost 30 hours of comprehensive Lightroom training. If you found yourself confused by any of the topics that I've discussed, you'll find that my video series will provide that foundational training that I haven't been able to provide here. So let's get to finding and eliminating duplicates. The idea here is that you could have multiple copies of your photos here in Lightroom, and you want to find and eliminate the duplicates. Well, Lightroom does not have a function for doing that. You could use a program outside of Lightroom, or you can download a Lightroom plugin from a third party and use that plugin. So I'm going to show you how to use a plugin that I can't even pronounce. I'm going to guess it's Teekesselchen. I don't have it in front of me, but it's a German plugin. I'm going to go to the website There it is. See, it's a German website here. And I'm going to download the plugin. There are two different plugins that I'm aware of. This is the one I'm going to show you today. There's another one called Lightroom Duplicate Finder that is by Jim Keir. And there's a video on my blog that shows how to use that one. So I've downloaded the file. I'm going to go ahead and run it. Now, running the installation will look a little bit different on Windows, but the idea is to run the installation wizard. Just going to continue through this, let it go where it wanted to go. The installation was successful. Close out the web browser. Now, you have to close Lightroom and reopen it for it to detect this plugin. All right. Now if I go up to File, Plugin Manager, I see this Teekesselchen plugin. I'm going to enable it, and then I can click on Done. Now I'm going to run it. I'm going to have Lightroom find duplicates. Now I have to decide whether I want Lightroom to search my entire catalog for duplicates or particular folders. Generally, I would have it search my entire catalog, but for the sake of time, I'm going to have it search one folder here. Let me just find the one that I want. Here it is. Okay, so I'm just going to have it search this one folder. Next, I'll go up to Library, Plugin Extras, Find Duplicates. Now there are a lot of features in here. I'm not going to have time to go through every single feature, but I'm going to do the main ones. First, I'm going to go to the Marks tab. This plugin is going to try to make a recommendation to you about which one to keep and which ones of the duplicates to get rid of. So these are the rules that it uses to decide which one is the keeper. So for example, having this checked will prefer a RAW file over a JPEG if you have both of the same photos. It'll prefer a DNG RAW file over a proprietary file. So by checking and unchecking these, you can control its logic for deciding which one of the duplicates is the keeper. I like this prefer short file names. A lot of our duplicates have the original file name -2 or original file name copy. By choosing prefer short file names, it will prefer the original file name without the -2 or without the copy. It's going to create and use a smart collection. I'll show you how that works. Now, in order for it to be able to make a recommendation to you, you have a couple choices. You can allow the plugin to use the reject flag. It'll just be a black flag that appears. If you've never used reject flags, this actually will be a good choice. The issue comes in if you already have photos in your catalog that you've used the reject flag on. This is going to wipe out those flags that you already have. So if it's important to you that that not happen, then having this plugin signal to you that something's a keeper versus a reject with the reject flag is not a good idea. If you don't use the reject flag elsewhere in your catalog, check this and use this. If you use the reject flag elsewhere, you have another option here, and that's to allow it to use color labels to signal to you which is a keeper or not. If you use color labels, like you assign red labels to photos, green labels, etc., if you use that elsewhere in your catalog, you won't want it to overwrite what you're already doing. The problem, though, is that if you use the reject flag and color labels, it doesn't have a way to signal to you which one is the keeper or not. It'll still be okay in that it will identify the duplicates, but you'll just have to go through yourself and decide which ones are the keepers and which ones are not. So you can certainly use the plugin, but you won't want to use these features. Now in this catalog, I don't use the reject flag for anything, or I'm willing to let those be wiped out. and I don't use color labels. So I'm going to show you with both of these turned on. Next, we have the rules that decide whether photos are duplicates, not which of the duplicates are keepers, but what is a duplicate. Well, if they're shot with the same camera and have the same exposure, same GPS coordinates, and shot at the same time, that's what it's considering to be a duplicate. You can modify these to refine what is considered to be a duplicate, but these are good defaults. Generally, I'm not going to choose file name because that would say only if they have the exact same file name would the plugin consider it to be a duplicate, for example. So I leave that unchecked. All right, I'm going to go ahead and let it find duplicates. It found 6 duplicates in this folder that I had selected. I'll say OK. And then I'm going to scroll down to where those duplicates are stored, and that's in the Collections panel. I'll collapse the Folders panel. It created this Duplicates Smart Collection. Every photo that it thinks is a duplicate of another photo, it's added the keyword duplicate, and then this Smart Collection shows you every photo that has that duplicate keyword. Let's just look at these two. These two are the same photo, same camera, same time shot, etc. And it added a reject flag to this one because according to my rules, I preferred DNG raw files over CR2 raw files. So that's how it determined which one to recommend rejecting. Now, as you're sorting through these, it can be helpful to show certain information above the grid here. I have it showing file name. This may be a little small for you to read, but file name, this one I've changed by accident. Folder, I show what folder it's stored in, the dimensions of the photo in pixels, and then the file extension. So I can see if it's a raw file, a JPEG, etc. To set these 4 pieces of information, if you don't see any information at all above your thumbnails, type J a couple times until you see information, and then to change what information shows, click on each information field, each of those 4, and choose what information you want to display. That makes it a lot easier to sort through these. Now, those of you that watched my live webinar will notice that I've re-recorded the rest of my explanation on eliminating duplicates because I just wasn't satisfied with my explanation. After an hour and a half in the live webinar, I was getting pretty fried. All right, there's one more thing that can be useful in helping you sort out your duplicates, and that's the thumbnail badges, which indicate if there is work done on your photos. If you don't see any badges on your photos, check your settings. Go up to View and down to View Options. And on the Grid View tab, check Thumbnail Badges. Then if you don't see any badges, it's because there isn't any work done on those photos. The first badge, the tag, indicates that the photo has keywords. If you click on it, it will pop open the keywording panel. Now, that badge isn't so helpful here because all of the photos identified by the plugin have been given the keyword duplicate. So if you're trying to figure out which one you've keyworded and which one you haven't, you'll have to actually open up the keywording panel. The next badge, the square with a line at the bottom, indicates that the photo has GPS coordinates. Those could have been added by your camera, or you could have added them in the map module. The next one's pretty useful, and that's the plus/minus badge that indicates whether you have edited the photo, whether you've developed it. So I've edited this one, but not this second one. Now, this next step in our process is to sort through all of these photos, evaluating the plugin's decision on which ones are keepers and which ones aren't, if you were able to use either the reject flag or the color labels, or making those decisions from scratch if you weren't. Now, if you chose to use the reject flag, you'll stay right here in grid mode and use that signal. if you use the color labels, it's a little more complicated because the plugin is using the white color label, and you'll find this white color label on all of the duplicates. To see which ones it recommends that you keep, you have to go into the filter. If you don't see the library filter at the top of the grid, go up to View, Show Filter Bar. Next, click on the Metadata tab. You'll use the label field. It doesn't matter which column you use, but if you don't see label at all, click on the drop-down and choose Label. Here's the information that the plugin has provided. It is labeled each set of duplicates with a letter. So B is this first set of duplicates. C is the next set of duplicates. Keep is the one that it recommends that you keep of that set, and then X is the one or more that it recommends that you get rid of. To see both the keeper and the rejects, click on Keep, hold the Shift key down, and click on X. Now I see the set. You'll evaluate its decision. Now when it comes to pulling together all the ones you're going to delete, it's going to be easiest if you add a keyword to those photos that you want to delete. Either the one or more that it recommends that you delete, or the keep if you want to override its decision. Now this isn't necessary if you're using the reject flag. It's necessary if you're using the color labels or if you're making the decisions from scratch. Select the one or more that you want to delete. In this next set of duplicates, I'll probably end up deleting 2. Maybe, maybe not. But anyway, select the one or more that you're going to want to delete. Click at the keywording box, add a comma, and type delete or any word that will signal to you that these are the ones you're going to want to get rid of. Now this is necessary because you can't delete directly from a smart collection. So we have to do it in 2 steps. I'll collapse this again. Now that you understand the color label information, I'm going to get out of this filter entirely by clicking on All at the top here and then clicking on None. Now I'm back to seeing all of the photos in this duplicate smart collection. With whatever technique you're using, you'll go through all of your sets of duplicates. Let me do this quickly. I just realized that I already overrode its decision here. Let me go back to what it had decided really quickly here. Just ignore this. Okay. All right. So it wanted to reject the CR2 over the DNG because that's how I have my rules set up. But the editing is actually more important for me. And I've edited this one and not this one. Now I could copy the editing to the DNG file and then get rid of the CR2 file, but that's really not necessary. I'll just keep the CR2. So I'll take the reject flag off by typing U to unflag it. I'll select the DNG file and type X to reject. Now I'll go to the next set. It's saying it'll keep the DNG file. It would delete a Photoshop file. That's what the PSD is. Then the CR2 raw file. I'm good keeping the DNG file over the CR2. The DNG file actually has editing, so that's good. But I also want to keep the Photoshop file that I created. So I'll select that, type U to unflag. Now I'll move to the next set. It's rejecting a smaller version of the file, so that's good. And it's a JPEG. I definitely want the raw file. I don't need this JPEG around, so I'm good with that decision. And then finally, it's rejecting a CR2 over the DNG. That's good. I see that I don't have editing on either one. And then it's also rejecting a small JPEG. So I'm happy with that decision as well. Now that I've gone through all of the sets of photos, it's time to delete the rejects. Now, as I mentioned, we can't delete directly from a smart collection. If I select a photo and then hit the delete key on my keyboard, it's telling me exactly that. Ignore the recommendation here to edit the metadata. We'll just hit OK. we'll need to move away from the Smart Collection in order to delete. So either go to the folder that you ran the plugin on, or if you ran it on your entire catalog, click on All Photographs. I'll just go to the folder that I ran the plugin on. Next, if you use the reject flag, to delete all of the rejects, you can go to Photo, Delete Rejected Photos. We see that it's going to delete 5. Notice that it shows me those 5. So that's a check for you. Finally, you'll hit Delete from Disk. We want them out of Lightroom and off of our hard drive. Otherwise, our work has been for naught. I'm going to cancel though. If you used a keyword to signal what to delete, again, you'll select the folder that you ran it on or all photographs at the top, and then in grid view, in the library filter bar, you'll click on metadata and you'll use the keyword field. Again, it doesn't matter which column it's in. Click on the drop down and choose keyword and find your delete keyword. Not the duplicate, because that's keepers and rejects, just the ones that you want to delete. Make sure that there aren't any other filters going on here. In other words, that the other 3 columns are set to all, so that you're just filtering on the keyword. You'll select all of the photos that show up in the grid after you select that. You could do Control A on the PC or Command A on the Mac, or you can go up to Edit, Select All. Finally, you can hit the Delete key on your keyboard and delete from disk. This will then be empty. To get out of the filter, click on All and then None. Finally, since we're doing a spring cleaning webinar, we really should delete the keywords and collection that this process created. I'll open up the right-hand panels here and I'll go to the keyword list panel and I'll delete the delete keyword. I'll right-click on it and choose Delete. I know that it's on some photos, but the photos themselves will not be deleted. I'll click on Delete. And now I'll right-click on the duplicate keyword and I'll delete that one. Next, I'll go down to the Collections panel. I'll right-click on the Duplicates Smart Collection and I'll delete that. So that's how to find and eliminate duplicates. There are several steps. The most labor-intensive, of course, is actually sorting through to evaluate the keepers and the rejects. So that concludes the Lightroom spring cleaning topics that I had for you today. Now I want to spend just a little bit of time talking about my comprehensive Lightroom video training. Now I have 2 video series, The Fundamentals and Beyond and Producing Great Output. The current version of these series covers Lightroom 5, 6, and CC. I do also have older versions for Lightroom 3 and Lightroom 4. These won't have as much content or as many added features. By the way, if you have my video series, type in the chat panel whether you're finding it to be helpful. We'll start with The Fundamentals and Beyond, which is intended to be the first series that you learn from. It consists of 15.5 hours of training on 76 videos. It's for both beginners and experienced users. If you're a brand new beginner and haven't even opened Lightroom yet, this series will be perfect for you. I've also got tons of topics in this series, though, that will be of interest to experienced or intermediate users. I cover things like working with smart previews, the pros and cons of DNG, working with multiple computers, advanced editing tools like the tone curve, and a lot more. Now for you beginners, you might find 76 videos to be overwhelming, but you'll see in the table of contents PDF that comes with the series that I've color-coded in green the videos that are most important for you to watch. This way you don't have to worry about getting overwhelmed. This series covers the most important parts of Lightroom, the Library and Develop modules, and it also covers the Map module. These are the modules or parts of Lightroom that are important for all Lightroom users to learn well. Now, I'm not going to get into everything I cover in these series. That would just take too long. But since this is a webinar on the topic of organizing, I'll just mention that I spend over 5.5 hours in the library module. We start with some conceptual topics, how Lightroom works with a catalog. Then we have a planning session on how to organize your photos. My thoughts and advice for you. We get into the hands-on. You learn how to import photos from lots of different sources, how to organize and manage them, how to evaluate them with stars and flags and color labels. There are 4 videos on keywording. You learn collections in depth, and a lot more. There I go, trying to list everything. Anyway, organizing and managing is the less intuitive part of Lightroom, but it's so critical. That's why I spend so much time on it. By the way, you also learn how to search for or find your photos. Then we go into the Develop module, where I probably spend another 5 hours, starting with an overview where you watch me develop a photo from start to finish. This way you learn my workflow and you hear my thoughts on why I make the edits I do. And then I delve into teaching you all of the editing tools available to you in Lightroom. And there are a lot of them. But if there aren't enough and you want to use Photoshop as well, you'll find that I have a couple videos that teach you the workflow of going from Lightroom to Photoshop and back. Finally, I cover the Map module. This isn't a mission critical part of Lightroom, but it not only allows you to see your photos on a map, but if you use it, you won't have to assign location keywords to your photos because the Map module will do that for you. Alright, on the web page for this series, you'll see that in the description section, you can delve down into as much detail as you'd like to have on what I cover in the series. The videos are compatible with PCs, Macs, and mobile devices. There's even a video in the series on how to get the videos and PDFs onto your iPad or iPhone, but you can get them onto Android devices as well. You can purchase a DVD of the series, or you can purchase the download version and get started right away. Actually, the DVD version comes with an optional download of the series just so that you can download it if you'd like to get started while your DVD is still in the mail. Now, I'm not going to get into actual pricing in this recording of the webinar because this video will be up on YouTube for a long time. But suffice it to say that regular prices for the series are under $50 for the download version and just over that for the DVD. So you can master the most important parts of Lightroom and get to a point where you can actually love Lightroom as I do for under $50. Let's go to the second series, Producing Great Output. This covers Lightroom's output modules, Lightroom's book, slideshow, print, and web modules. You'll learn to create beautiful photo books that you can upload to Blurb, which is a photo book publishing company. They do a great job. You can also create PDFs that you can put on your mobile devices or share with people. You'll learn to make slideshows that include title slides, text on your photo slides if you'd like, music, pan and zoom to have a Ken Burns-like effect, and much more. You'll also learn everything you need to know to make professional quality prints in the print module. In the print module, you can print single photos. You can also make contact sheets and collages or multi-photo designs. You can print them yourself, or you can save your designs or layouts as JPEG files and send them out to have somebody else print them, or you can share them electronically. Finally, you'll learn to create web galleries to put on your website. And you'll learn in this part of the series that a lot of people have a website or web space available to them from their internet service provider. So it's possible you'll find that this is useful for you. Finally, in addition to the how-to on Lightroom's output modules, I spend over 2.5 hours on really important output concepts. Color management, color spaces, how and why to calibrate your monitor, why your photos in your created output don't look like what you saw in Lightroom. You'll learn about printer profiles, JPEG quality, resolution, the question of how large can you print your photos, and much more. Frankly, even if you're not interested in the output modules, I personally believe that this 2.5 hours is worth the price of this series. And this series is priced the same as the other series. If you purchase the two series together, you can save 10% on both of them. Finally, let me cover quickly some bonuses that come with these series. The Fundamentals and Beyond includes all of the photos that I use in the lessons on photo editing, so you can work along with me as you learn. Both series include free tutorial updates for any new features that Adobe adds to Lightroom 6 or CC 2015, which is the current version of CC as of when I'm making this video in May of 2017. You also get membership in a secret Facebook group where you can ask Lightroom questions and participate in discussions. After purchase, you'll get an email from us, and you can reply to that email to request membership in the group. You get PDFs of my favorite Lightroom shortcuts and detailed indices for these series. Each series comes with at least a 45-page index listing all of the subtopics in each video and the start times of those subtopics, so you can get back to any subtopic in a video whenever you need to refresh your memory on something. Finally, your purchase comes with a 60-day, 100% satisfaction guarantee, so there's no risk to you in purchasing and trying out these series. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say on my Lightroom video series. If you have any questions about these series, you can email us at info@laurashu.com. I hope you've enjoyed today's Lightroom Spring Cleaning webinar. I'm Laura Shu.